1 plus 1 does not equal 2. If done properly, okay, 1 plus 1 actually equals 3, because there's this third mind, like abstract mind, that gets created when two people get together or more and actually united on the same page around vision, what we're trying to achieve, our core values.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We are here to lead you on the way.
All right, team, welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast with the amazing Dr. Lona and myself, Dr. Bobby. And today we are continuing part 2 from what we call the 6 sides of the Rubik's Cube. So Lona, we're just going to pick this thing up exactly where we left off from the last episode, because we spoke about the first 3 sides. But one of the things that we did say is these next 3 is how you really hit scale. So these next 3 is how you really start to take things the next level, take things into overdrive, and really explode your level of growth. So without further ado, why don't you take us through what is the 4th side of the Rubik's Cube that we need to solve in order to really blow things up?
Yes. So the 4th side is your people working with you on the vision that you've so perfectly laid out beforehand, and the people that are coming in to help you develop the system that not just only hinges around you. Now they're doing parts of it and you're starting to delegate. So you're getting the right person in the right role, hopefully learning the right things to do at the right time, the right way, which is each facet of that is something to train around, right? So you hopefully are identifying not only where you need someone, but also what type of personality and what characteristics, and as clear as you can get, you have a vision for that role. So it's almost like we can do the Rubik's Cube for each role, if you will, of like, what does the person in, for instance, the front face of the practice, the person greeting the assistant, that when someone walks in, they're saying hello and giving them like almost a warm, buttery smile so that people just melt. Like, what is that person's characteristics? What do they lead patients like? How do they greet them? Like, you're getting so crystal clear about each role on the team. And then that's how you attract then the right person for the role, so you can train them up and then start to leverage them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys heard it there. 4th side of the Rubik's Cube, guys, is people. It's your team. So if anyone is going to achieve anything of substance, one thing I can guarantee you is you're going to achieve it with having a team. All right. And team is your multiplier effect. So imagine one person being, and it doesn't matter, I should say, how fired up one person is, how passionate one person is, how excited, energized, I'm going to go ahead and change the world, right? When you add that person together with another person, right, it multiplies the effects of that. And I'm reminded again of Think and Grow Rich principle, where they talk about this idea of a mastermind. And they say, when you put 2 minds together, 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. All right. 1 plus 1 doesn't matter how intelligent one party is. Okay. And it could be far weighted on one side, that one party brings way more to an arrangement and to a relationship. Doesn't matter. 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. If done properly, okay, 1 plus 1 actually equals 3, because there's this third mind, like abstract mind, that gets created when two people get together or more and actually united on the same page around vision, what we're trying to achieve, our core values. So if you want to scale, guys, this 4th side is the most important side, which is people. We've got to have the right people, the right team alongside us. And quite often in chiropractic and in business, this is the side that we'll have the most difficulty with. But let me tell you, doesn't matter what sport you follow, okay? If you had a team that's not doing well for a long time, okay, and they bring in now a coach, they bring in a manager to try and change the fortunes of this team. One of the things that world-class coaches and managers do is they go through and they have to start making tough decisions and start clearing out people that they might say are deadwood, and start bringing on the right people that are aligned with, hey, what we see the vision for this club. Because together we're going to transform it. Doesn't matter how good I am, I'm not going to transform it on my own. So like Dr. Lona said, there's a formula for getting the right people. Like, first of all, we've got to find we call it the 4 rights. And first of all, we've got to find the right person. So right person means if you've done first side of the Rubik's Cube and you're clear with your vision and you're clear with your core values, the business core values, we need to find people that are aligned with vision and core values, that when they hear you talk about the vision and they hear you talk about the core values, they get goosebumps. And let me tell you guys, when you do this, people, geniuses, amazing people, way better than me, way better than you, right, in certain specific roles and tasks will come and join your team. And that's what they're saying when you hear people say great people are not necessarily those who do a lot, but more so those around whom a lot gets done. That's what that means. They're able to, through their vision and core values and clarity of that, attract amazing people. And people will come and work for you for a less pay than what they would for somebody else. Case example, our new business development manager that helps us handle all of our marketing, attraction, bringing new patients in. Okay. She is an absolute rock star. For years, she worked in a recruitment agency earning six figures, multiple six figures. She does not earn multiple six figures in the role that she sits in for us. So why would she continue to do that role for years and years and years and years? And the only reason is because she's so passionate and aligned with our vision and our core values that people will come and work for you for less if you've got this right? And I can tell you, if you stuff up this side of the Rubik's Cube, which is people and team, it is the biggest nightmare. It's going to be like every day you're trying to herd cats. Okay. It's mission impossible. But if you get this right, this is the biggest multiplier effect. This is 1 + 1 = 3. Or 5 people together, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. It actually equals 6, 7. And this is where you really start to scale an organization. So the question you should ask yourself right now as you listen to this is, what are the people in your business like right now? What are the people in your life like right now? Sometimes a hard question to ask, but do we need an upgrade? Do we need changes? Do we need evolution? And do we need to go to the next level in order for us to go to the next level of our vision manifestation, right?
Bobby, I'll say too that like when we use that analogy of the Rubik's Cube, like this one is very much intimately tied to that second side, the leadership side, right? Like when Bobby said like why does he have the marketing person that comes in and will take a pay cut to come into this? It's not only the vision and the values, but that the right leader is there to like bring that all together. People want to be grown. They want to be in places that recognize like they're more than just their role. They want to be nurtured. They want to be challenged. And I think sometimes that's an area that we can be blind to, is that people don't also want to just be somewhere that it's just like, oh, nobody expects anything of you. We've made it easy for you, right? They want to go to work on something that they feel aligned to.
Yeah, absolutely. Warren Buffett actually speaks about, Peter Lynch, world-class investor, speaks about when he goes and invests in a company, one of the things he must do, okay? And if you look at his track record of investing in companies, it's insane. But one of the things that he says that he must do is go boots on the ground and meet the people working in the company. And he asks them, what's the purpose of the company? What's the mission of the company? What's the vision that you guys hold? What are you trying to achieve? Through this company, what's the better tomorrow that you're trying to create? And he goes, the clarity and the passion of the answers of those employees tell him everything he needs to know about that company. Warren Buffett was the one that talks about every day, right? When I'm going to work, I tap dance to work. There's a man who loves what he does. He sees that as a part of a bigger purpose, part of a bigger vision. And so going back to what you said about people will come and work for you for less, yes, they will. But here's the beautiful thing. They don't forever. It doesn't have to be this thing about, well, chiropractic office taps out at $4.5 million, $5 million of collection. So really there's kind of this upper limit. Well, not really, okay? If you as a leader keep going back to the first side of the Rubik's Cube and expanding your vision, the expansion is actually infinite. You can expand as much as you want. You can develop other locations, other businesses, and those great people that you've come alongside you along the way, they can move into higher roles. We talk about all the time when you start practice, you might have you'll need a checkout CA, someone who's really good at mapping care plans, doing office policies, that's really good at like taking payments, running the office. Well, guess what? As you grow, that person can grow into a back office CA, okay? That's really good at handling all the back office stuff as well, paying all the bills, right? Helping run and organize the stuff behind the scenes. It's important, okay? But it's not necessarily the stuff that you want to busy yourself with doing. And then if they do that well, they can actually then elevate into an office manager. An office manager means they run the team. They can start running team trainings for you. They can start running team meetings. Again, that comes with a different pay arrangement. If they're an awesome office manager, they can elevate into a COO. And the COO is able to run the company, knows all the essential functional elements of the company. You should be able to go to Europe or come here to Australia or go to the US for a vacation for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, And this COO can actually run the company for you, profitably still growing as though you're not there. So as you expand, you can add locations, you can expand your vision, you expand your business. And with that comes opportunity for people to earn more. It comes the opportunity for people to do more, and it comes the opportunity for people to elevate more within your organization. So often in chiropractic, there's this case of not thinking big enough, and we think too small, right? I can't attract the best people because I can't afford to pay them. Sure, with that mindset, you never will. But if you have your vision big enough and clear enough around your core values, you'll attract them. And then if you continue to grow and go back and do these baseline work, okay, you're going to continue to expand your vision and keep growing. And those great people over time, just like how you accumulate and collect great patients, you accumulate and create great people around you as well. That they will scale you infinitely when you lead properly and you do the groundwork that's needed that most people, quite frankly, don't do. Right.
Right.
So, fourth side of Rubik's Cube, guys, you heard it here. It's people. Who do you put in your team? Then at that point, and once, get this, we've got clarity of vision. Where are we going? We're clear with our core values. I'm clear now with the leader that I need to become. And I'm already starting to act, and I'm starting to consciously make decisions with that in the back of my mind. Well, hang on, what's the leader that I become? What would they do in this situation? Then our systems are coming together. We're training regularly. We're getting trained. We're getting coached around attraction, conversion, retention. We're building predictability around our systems. I'm attracting good people while my team's starting to evolve. I'm getting some good people on my team. I love it. Then here is now how we really multiply the effects of all that. The fifth side of the Rubik's Cube that we need to put into our practice for practice growth and success is training. Dr. Lona, what does training mean for you? When you hear training being the fifth side of the Rubik's Cube, Dr. Bobby, what does that mean for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what it used to mean for me is it used to mean that we would talk a lot and we'd have a lot of meetings, but we maybe didn't actually role play. And so now when we say training, we are going through the actual like rhythms of doing the thing we're training on. So if we're training on systems with like the CAs, we're going through maybe a day one procedure, we're breaking that down and we're walking through it and we're doing it in real time. And that happens repeatedly, actually in about 10 minutes, 20 minutes here, I'm going to be doing training with my team because we know on Wednesdays we train. Earlier this morning, we did training with the DCs on my team. So we go through, actually going through some syntropy and some setups for cervical setups and understanding more about the biomechanics of the spine and making sure that we all adjust similarly so that we can deliver the goods in a uniform way, because that's what we have for a part of our vision here, is that patients can see anyone in our offices. So that's part of training for us. It's these rhythms of making sure that we're delivering, this product in a way that aligns with what we said we were going to be doing as part of our vision. And it's not an afterthought. It is actually probably the most important minutes in our week are spent when we're either doing our weekly meeting or doing our weekly trainings.
Yep, absolutely. I love it. And I know when we were planning for this show, right? This is something you don't change, guys. Lona was like, look, I've got to be off at this time because that's my team training. It wasn't a case of, oh, there's this other thing that's, looking pretty important. Let me just take our team training. We won't do it this week. Or maybe I'll come late 15 minutes to that team. Like, no, we've got a strict finish time at this point, right? Because training is booked. And that's the way that you've got to approach it, guys. I look again at any world-class sporting team, world class, take any sport that you follow. And one thing I guarantee that they continue to do to be world class is train. And here's what else I guarantee. When you go and watch them in the training, they're not just going through the motions. Okay. Even though they've probably been playing this sport for their whole life and for years and years and years, they can be like, oh, what are we doing again? Drills. Great. No. In fact, the intensity of their training is directly proportional to the success of the team. I love, which probably many of you have watched as well, the documentary on Netflix, The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls, right? How they won the three-peat three times. And here's one of the biggest things that I got out of that documentary is Michael Jordan, MJ's mentality. It was his mentality not just about winning and his mentality about himself. Second side of Rubik's Cube, leadership, right? So he in his mind is instilling, okay, the person he's going to become. In order for us to have 6 championships, here's how we need to become. We need to be ruthless. We need to make sure that every single opponent, we're showing up the best version of ourselves, right? Losing was a big deal. But also, if you look at training, they talk about, he was the biggest trainer. He was the biggest person that would come there and would actually train his backside off, because training is what makes us great. And when you watch the trainings, they're not just rocking up and floating, right? Oh, okay, yeah, let's just kind of go through the motions. No, even though they've been shooting hoops and shooting baskets, right? And taking rebound and doing that their whole life, that intensity of that training is directly proportional to the outcomes that people get. So I love what Lona said about training is not meeting. So if you just rocked up and you said, "Oh yeah, we did a team training today," and you spoke about issues and you spoke about where you can improve and you spoke about how you can improve, the newsflash, you actually just had a meeting. And one thing that we all want less of is meetings, less meetings, right? How many times you sit in a meeting and you go, "What was the purpose of that meeting? What do we get out of that?" Okay. There's a very real difference between training and meeting. Okay. And that difference is in training, you're role playing. So, Dr. Lona, you just said that you guys today are going to train and you guys then are going to train on adjusting. Like, take us through what does that mean? You're going to be actually role playing, scripting on different parts of new patient process. I'm assuming you're going to be actually adjusting each other with certain setups. Is that right? What will your training look like today?
Yeah, so this morning when we had doctor training, we watched a video that showed us like hand placement, and it gives us like more of an actual like visual. You know how like when you have adjusted it becomes like riding the bike, but then you forget also sometimes like, okay, and this is the line of drive here, and more of the like stuff that you went over when you were first learning the mechanics of the spine. We're going back and doing that so that whether we have a DC that's brand new or someone like myself that's been in practice 14 years, like we're all in it together. And then we'll set it up on each other as well as look at the spine and make sure we understand like why we're doing the adjustment a certain way and understanding the mechanics there. So that was this morning. And then this afternoon was with the full team here. We're actually today, we're going to be walking through a new patient because we are in the midst of probably remodeling. And so there's going to be a little different flow of how we would go through a day one, just the initial part with the CA. And so we're going to role play that and kind of get some reps on that before we would introduce it in real time. So we'll be walking through that. And usually when we do it, we're going to just break down a small part. And this I think makes it easier for teams too, is like, you don't need to do like the entire day one process in your training. When you role play that, like just do like 5 minutes of it and get where you can break that down and really like, oh, I like this, or this felt clunky, or, let's actually say less, and have each person kind of say, okay, what was great here? And also what maybe could be improved, or here's how I would say it. And then have that discussion and not be afraid to have that discussion.
So, you guys are going to be remodeling there at the moment?
Yes.
Woo!
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. Gotta love it. Improve the flow, improve the efficiency so you can serve your mission and serve and manifest your vision to a high level, right?
Right.
Yep. There you have it, guys. There you have it. Could easily just leave things, could easily just, hey, it's good, it's fantastic. Let's just leave it. It's hard remodeling. It takes work, right? But this is the thing, right? When you sit there and you go, well, it is hard remodeling. It is going to cost money remodeling. It is going to take time doing that. Why do you do it? And so if you're clear, well, let me ask you, Dr. Lona, why do you do it? Why are you remodeling? The obvious is obviously cranking. You got multiple team members and associates there. Why would you choose to remodel?
Because we're going to grow into a bigger space and we need more rooms. So rather than just, like you said, being okay with that, I know that we all want to grow, and I know my team wants to grow. So they maybe want to grow even more than I do sometimes, where it's like, well, I don't want to shut this down. They want to go for it. Let's go for it. Right. So we need the floor plan to do it. So
Yep. There you have it, guys. Clarity and vision, right? It's what dictates every decision that you make. So classic example right there. Love it. So fifth side of the Rubik's Cube, the multiplier. And I look at it like this. Every single person, including yourself, that you have on your team is an asset if you train them. And if you train them, that's the way that you make that asset worth more. So if you possess an asset, you definitely want to know how to make it worth more. If you possess a house and you're like, all right, well, if I remodel, if I renovate, I've got a more beautiful place, it's actually worth more. Well, guess what? I want you to look at every single person on your team, including yourself, as an investment and it's an asset. If you train, you'll multiply the effects of that asset. If you don't, that asset can quickly become a liability. And here's why. For me, there's no middle ground. Okay. There's no such thing as plateauing. We're either slowly getting better or slowly getting worse because the laws of syntropy or entropy tell us that. Syntropy, things are coming together. Entropy, things are falling apart. And the way that you make things come together is by putting energy into the system. Training does that. All right. And then that leads to the final side of the Rubik's Cube, side number 6, which brings it all together for us. And that is energy. Dr. Lona, talk to us about energy. What does that mean for you?
yeah. Well, for me, energy is everything. So energy is in all aspects of our practice. And when we avoid certain things, we're not doing the due diligence to put energy there. So I know, since we've had a lot of conversation right now about team and people, I think energetics on a team get really funky sometimes, where either someone, maybe the owner, feels like they're walking on eggshells, walking into their own practice because they're not dealing with something that needs to be dealt with. Therefore, the energy gets off. And so, in that example, because I think that's a pretty common example where there's like interpersonal stuff, or maybe people are afraid to have the conversation they need to have and hold people accountable to the vision, the energy follows that. And then we wonder why we're not growing, or other wonky things start to happen. It's because there's an energy problem. Um, on the converse side to that is, like, sometimes we've had that experience where we get like a new teammate who's really fired up and they're ready to learn, and it like enlivens everyone, and the energy is better than it's been in a long time. It's like energy is contagious. And so that's also why paying attention to the energy and not just brushing it under the rug, whether that's in relationship to the people on the team, or the way we look at like the systems. Maybe you don't like something in the systems. Maybe the systems feel off to you. It's like, well, that needs to get rectified because the energy bleeds into everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. And I think we all know it. Like everyone resonates and everyone understands when, or at least understand when they hear this line, that when energy is up, you know it, your practice is up. And when energy is flat, for whatever reason, your practice is flat, right? We talk about this as chiropractors, right? We're doctors of energy, work with the nervous system, the system that energizes everything in the body, provides the spark. Well, your practice is the same, guys. It gets vibrating at a frequency. Everything is vibrating at a frequency. If something is vibrating at a high frequency, we say it has high energy. It's healthy. When your cells are vibrating at a good frequency, you're healthy. You have better tonality inside of the system. When something's vibrating at a low frequency, there's more tone. It's unhealthy. Okay. So we know that your office is the same. Now, we all understand and we all recognize, yeah, doc, you're right. When energy is up, practice is up. When energy is flat, practice is flat, right? So how do I get good energy? How do we make that happen? And I think, Dr. Lona, that question, how do we get awesome energy so we can continue to maintain great momentum in the office? I think that's a whole episode on its own, right? So we're going to unpack that, guys, later down the line for you. But I can tell you the first thing that you got to do, ready, surprise, surprise, is go back to the first side of the Rubik's Cube. Because if you have clarity around your vision and continue to create clarity around that and align that with your core values and your business core values, okay, that is an automatic way to re-energize yourself. And there's a system that you should be doing on a regular basis that makes that happen. We'll talk about those systems more in the future. The final side of the Rubik's Cube, guys, is energy. Energy is something that puts it all together and makes things just go either up if the energy is right, or down if the energy is off. And if you find yourself right now listening to this podcast and you're pumping, you're growing, I guarantee you that your energy right now, you're spizzed up. There's a reason in chiropractic we call it spizz, right? Okay. We get energized from it. Talking tick gets a spizz, right? So I guarantee if you're pumping and growing right now, the energy of your office is electric. And I wouldn't have to talk to anyone, but if I just walk into the office and observe for 30 seconds, I would feel it. And on the flip side, if you're someone right now who's maybe feeling stuck, who's maybe feeling like, oh, I've plateaued, maybe I'm at a point where, like, I'm not quite hitting the goals that I want, I would guarantee if I walk into your office, I'd feel your energy in the opposite level. Okay. Lona, what's your experience with this when you talk to DCs? Can you tell pretty quickly when someone's got an issue, what's going on with their energy?
Yeah, sometimes you can tell it in the first couple minutes of just talking to them, and it's like the elephant in the room, which is hard sometimes because it goes back to like know thyself, right? Being really clear about like, where is my own energy at, and how do I relate to what's happening in my practice? So yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
can't be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, spot on, guys. It's about getting everyone's energy on the same page and ultimately keeping it there and understanding we are humans. So people's energy will fluctuate and change. But if you have the systems to get energy back on course, when you see it, when you feel it, you'll have a way to be able to recognize it. And then you'll have a way ultimately to be able to start to get it back on course. But for now, the primary thing I want you to recognize is that energy is a real thing. We all recognize it. It's almost impossible to quantify. It's very hard to quantify like exactly numbers of energy that it offers, but it's very real. It's like love. We know that it's there, but it's impossible to quantify. How much do you love, right? Not the Lona, do you love your husband more than I love my wife? That's impossible to quantify, right? It's like, what scale are we going to quantify that on? Well, I love my wife to infinity. Well, you might say, well, I love my husband to infinity and beyond, right? So it's like, well, the reality is energy is the exact same thing, guys. So we know that it's real, it's there, it exists like love, and it's basically what's going to get your practice going in the right direction. So
Yeah,
I
I
love
just
it.
I want to underline what you said there. Like, I think that was really, really powerful. Is sometimes when we talk about this, it's like we're asking people to be machines. And it's like, no, that's not what this is about. We are going to have days that your energy is not as high as it was last week for various reasons or things happening personally. But to have systems in place, which is why systems are so important, and the coherence of the whole practice should bring you back and everyone else with it to a place where you're like energized from what you're doing. So that's why all of this is a Rubik's Cube together, because it all bleeds together in a good way. I love that you brought that up. So
Yep, you got it. All right, guys, if you're loving this, please go and do two things. Go and follow us and go and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us get this out to more people and continue to serve you to a higher level. So, Dr. Lona, I had a blast. We have to let her go, guys. She's going to go start training with her team before they pull her in there, right? Dr. Lona, thank you so much, lady. You have an amazing training, and I'll see you really soon.
all right, see you soon. Bye-bye.
See, catch you guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us